Titanfall 2 is the most fun game I've ever played. That's the title of this video, and it's a hill I'm willing to die on. A lot of what this game does has been replicated or done in other games, but for some reason, none of that stuff comes close to the pinnacle of fun this game created. Oh, and by the way, this is about as subjective a video that can exist. If you like Rocket League more, or Baldur's Gate, or God forbid Valorant for some reason, I do not take issue with that. Great games are art, and art is subjective, so if you don't agree with my ramblings here, that's totally fine. As you'll see, I'm super biased, but I think I at least make a compelling case for my scrumptious King Titanfall 2. With all that out of the way, let's get incoherent. So to explain the aforementioned bias, we gotta go back in time. Like way back in time. I got my first console with the Wii in 2008, but I didn't really get into video games until I got an Xbox One for my 12th birthday. Yeah, I know, my parents fucked me. I got Xbox Live a couple months later and spent basically all of 2016 buying and playing a ton of new games. Stuff like Battlefield 4, Rocket League, Ark, are all games that I started playing in 2016, and they're all games that I still play now all these years later. And it was a great time, but then everything changed
when the Fire Nation attacked.
E3 2016. Sea of Thieves had a cool gameplay trailer. Recore was a thing that happened. And then the Titanfall 2 single player trailer. Nah, I'm just playing. As cool as the single player trailer was, it was the next video my YouTube recommended that really blew my little brain. Like, look at this. You jump out of a dropship and you hit him with the grrrr, and then, oh my god! I don't think you understand. I'm 13. I need to play this. And then I didn't. Yep, I'm a fraud. Titanfall 2 dropped and I did not play it. I ended up playing Battlefield 1 instead, but in the coming winter, I'd buy Titanfall and finally play it. And man, let me tell you, there was nothing like it. Destiny had insanely high TTK, Battlefield had a focus on giant maps and vehicles, and I didn't play COD because it wasn't a corporate shill. I spent all of 2017 playing Titanfall 2, watching Titan Tunes, absolutely dumpstering shitters in live fire. It was great. Titanfall would continue to be my comfort game throughout all of high school. It was always there when I needed some hop-in, hop-out fun when my buddies weren't on, or they decided to play a 50-minute conquest game on Smite. Seriously, what the hell is that game? Fast forward through all the server issues on PC. During the server issues, I actually got my PC, which kind of sucked, but I digress. Fast forward to today, and Titanfall 2 is still as fun as ever. Oh! Oh! I just fucked that guy. Since I finally got one of my buddies to play more than a single game with me, and since I just crossed 100 hours on Steam, I figured now is as good a time as any to make this video and explain my love for this game, if for any reason just so my friends can understand why I'm so addicted to it. So let's start with the most obvious reason. The movement. Holy shit, it should be illegal to make movement this smooth. Words cannot describe how much fun it is to move around in this game. I mean, I'll try, but you really need to play Titanfall to understand how fluid the movement really is. Titanfall has actually ruined other games for me because of the movement alone, but I'll get into that later. Titanfall's movement hinges around three main mechanics: jumps, slides, and wall runs. You have a double jump, which is replenished whenever you make contact with a wall or floor, or a Titan if you're weird like that. Wall runs last a few seconds and can be chained around corners or between different surfaces. Sliding can be done while sprinting and will give you a speed boost, although you can only get the speed boost every few seconds. Now, the biggest thing that ties this all together and gives it the insane fluidity it has is the sliding. In Titanfall, you can enter a sliding stance before you hit the ground, meaning that you can jump off a wall, Titan, or roof and begin sliding the instant you hit the floor, meaning you can conserve your momentum and drastically increase your average speed. This is such a big deal. Take Hyperscape, the Ubisoft BR from a few years ago. It has slides, launch pads, no fall damage, kind of like Titanfall. The slide even gives you a speed boost. But, you can't enter a slide from a jump, meaning you have to hit the floor running and then slide, which jacks up the movement flow and makes the game feel super hitchy. It's like a JV basketball player with bad shooting mechanics. High-skilled Titanfall players rarely ever touch the floor, and if they do, I can guarantee you they're sliding. This obviously opens up slide hops since you don't lose speed midair, but you will while sliding. Other movement tech like wall kicks, air strafing, and wall slides can all be learned relatively easily, but putting all this giant puzzle together is really what makes it so fun. Take Homestead for example. Just from this one spot, I can go pretty much anywhere I want within a few seconds. I can jump up on this wall and get a wall run into a slide. I can grapple straight away and just fly across the map, or I can just take this low path and go that way. Speedrunners take the movement to an entirely different level with things like frag boosts, tap strafes, and air strafes, and on and on and on. People were still finding movement tech for this game until recently for speedruns. If you're interested, I highly recommend Brian Otto's channel for in-depth analysis. Now, all of this is great, but there's something missing. The grapple hook in Titanfall 2 is the most fun item ever created in a video game. This thing is crack. Seriously. There are two pilot tacticals that relate to movement, stim and grapple, and obviously both are extremely popular, but for some reason, this grapple just scratches my brain. It's easy to use but hard to master, and combines great physics and sense of momentum to create a truly unique tool. A lot of games have grappling hooks. Uncharted 4, Doom Eternal, Halo Infinite, even Battlefield has a grapple hook now. Side note, that thing fucking sucks. Now, some of these games are good games, but their grapples just can't compare. My biggest issue with 2042's grapple is that it's basically a point and click thing. Like, you point it at a thing, and then you go straight to the thing. It's pretty hard to create any extra momentum. It also isn't integrated very well with the vehicles, which is a huge missed opportunity if you ask me. Meanwhile, Titanfall 2 is over here with an insanely versatile grapple. There are so many different ways to manipulate this thing mid-air, from using your double jump to just strafing or holding a movement key. It just allows for so much more creativity. I could rant about this thing all day, but I'm gonna do everybody a service and move on. As far as weapons go, Titanfall is in a pretty decent spot. Just about every gun feels unique with the exception of certain ARs and SMGs. The Kraber is crack, and there's a lot of weapon variety without giving the player paradox of choice. One big issue with Battlefield 4 is that a lot of the guns can feel samey, meaning that technically it's a different gun, but it handles and feels the same to fire as other guns. This is not a problem in Titanfall 2. There are two shotguns, an automatic mag-fed one, and the Mastiff, which is like a horizontal side-loaded boy. There's 3 LMGs, your traditional one with a box mag, a spool-up energy one, and a fucking Star Wars gun. The L-Star is awesome, dude. There are 3 snipers, an auto, your one-shot 50 cal type Kraber, and then a sort of sniper DMR crossover in the 2 shots per trigger pull double take. Your grenade options aren't extensive, but varied enough with traditional frags, smokes, and satchels, as well as fire stars and gravity stars being the creative standouts. Pilot tactical abilities are varied, but I'm gonna be honest, I've never used anything besides grapple, save for when I'm unlocking executions, which I will also touch on later. Giant robots are cool. Everyone knows giant robots are cool. I like Pacific Rim. However, and hear me out here, what if, instead of the robots already being on the battlefield, we drop them out of the sky like bombs? Titanfall, baby! This one singular change, while being the title of the franchise, gives Titans such a bigger cool factor, since you can watch them drop in, complete with smoke and fire effects. The Titans themselves are a total power fantasy, and really this whole game is. You will feel like a badass at least twice a match in Titanfall, and these things are a big part of why. When you melee someone in your Titan, they don't ragdoll away, they just fucking explode. You can just straight up step on people, and each Titan has quite the arsenal that gives the player quite a variety of playstyles to choose from. Northstar is my personal favorite, but I know plenty of people who swear by Scorch since they just get to burn the entire map to ash. I know more people who feel similarly with Legion, and there are still brave souls like Iniquity making Ronin work. Titans add a whole new dimension to the game, and Titanfall 2 does a great job of demonstrating the scale of these things, both in the single player and multiplayer. In Attrition, which is Titanfall 2's main mode, you're in a big battle of pilots, grunts, robot infantry, and Titans, and if the match drags out, Reapers, which are basically mini Titans that are somehow everywhere when you don't want them to be.
You're in a 1v1, Reapers appears, you're hiding behind cover, Reapers appears, you're picking up a battery, Reapers... What the f*** do you want?
During matches, ships will drop in AI units and battles rage in the sky overhead. Grunts work in squads, making callouts. Reapers leap across the rooftops, all while pilots zoom around and Titans prowl the streets. It's something that older Battlefield games did really well, which was make you feel like a small part of a bigger war, something that is sadly missing for the most recent entry thanks to the introduction of specialists. Side note, grunts are hilarious. Like, they'll fall over shitting themselves when you pull up on a Titan, and sometimes it's just fun to mess with them. Respawn carried over this grunt units being comedic relief thing into their Star Wars games, and it's great there as well.
Everything quiet at the moment. I can't wait to get some more action. I'm ready. Bring it on. Correction, everything was quiet.
It's off this grunt tangent that I'm going to jump in again. Originally, I'd written the script for this video without addressing the campaign, since it's pretty short at around 6 hours, and most players spend the vast majority of their time in-game in the multiplayer. But I went on a whim recently and played through the campaign on Master, and I feel like I have to talk about it. The story is fairly generic. You know, the rip-off Empire is a rip-off Death Star. Although, side note, I do like the IMC. They are pretty Empire-adjacent, but Titanfall's art direction and designs make them feel distinct enough to have their own personality, as this highly militarized, almost company that chases the bottom line, sparing no expense in lives or ammunition to do so. Besides the semi-generic story, the characters are actually really solid. Everybody loves BT, but the supporting cast like the 6-4 and Barker make the universe feel a lot bigger. The villains are generally fun, with Viper being the obvious standout.
Voodoo 1, Viper's on station. Your journey ends here, pilot.
Cooper is about as basic as a protagonist as you can get, but the game does well to foster the relationship between him and BT, and since you never leave first person, you end up forming a relationship with BT as well. This is exemplified with the dialogue trees throughout the game. Titanfall 2 just randomly has binary dialogue options that change nothing besides what BT says back to you in the next 10 seconds. Normally, this would suck. especially in RPGs where you want the dialogue trees to actually matter and change the direction of the story, since otherwise it's just fluff that adds nothing to the experience. But I actually really like the dialogue options here because it doesn't jeopardize narrative choice, since there is none. It's just another way for the game to foster the relationship between BT and the player. This game looks great graphically, by the way. All these years later, the skyboxes especially are still pretty impressive.
Bro, this Sunset Battle play.
Gameplay-wise, the campaign is pretty awesome. Respawn clearly had a handle on their own movement system with varied platforming sections all over the place. There are small-scale missions, big airborne chases, full-on Titan-on-Titan battles with artillery and tank traps. The variety here is pretty impressive. Even the title card is cool. Really, my only complaint with the campaign is that it's too short, at about 6 hours, under 2 if you're a demon. The campaign is great though. It's a fun romp through an intriguing setting with a somewhat generic plot that's saved by its set pieces and characters. Back to regularly scheduled programming. The last thing I want to touch on with Titanfall is its cool factor. Playing the game feels awesome, and that's due in large part to little details adding to the power fantasy. The Titans falling out of the sky, crushing unsuspecting pilots or Titans, the melees being one-hit, the abundance of one-hit weapons in general, and the executions. Holy shit, I love executions. If you melee a player who is standing up from behind, you'll enter an animation where you just absolutely destroy them in a variety of ways, assuming you're like me and unlocked all of them. This is so cool. They're varied and creative, taking into account most pilot tactical abilities. Executions are honestly a flex, sort of an ultimate I'm better than you statement. Sometimes they end up being even cooler unintentionally. Now, all of this is well and good, but I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Titans can do them too. You haven't truly experienced life until you're in a 50-ton killing machine, jamming a 20-foot tall railgun into the pilot compartment of another 50-ton killing machine and pulling the trigger, reducing whatever life form inhabited that space to atoms. Seriously, these things are so cool. Literally my only gripe with this game is that they didn't add more of these. So, to summarize, insanely fun and fluid movement, varied weapons, giant robots, and some sick-ass flair make Titanfall 2 the most fun multiplayer game on the market, in my extremely humble opinion. It looks like we might never get a third game, given how EA screwed over this game's release date, along with the fact that apparently Titanfall 3 was converted into Apex. I'll never fucking forgive them. Along with the DDoSing and the recent teases of updates, it's been a very long and bumpy ride. This game has died, risen, died again, risen again, and died all over again more times than I care to count. But at the end of the day, you can still play it. There's usually about 2,000 people online on Steam, and that's all I can really ask for. So to wrap a little bow on this video, fuck Stim, fuck Car, fuck Monarch, embrace Kraber, spam Grapple, and stand by for Titanfall.